As we grew, budgeting became such a manual process, tedious. There were 10 different versions of the budget, and you couldn't figure out the latest version as people weren't labeling them properly. That's something that Daniel from Fuzzy, who's a large events company based here in Australia, who uses MYOB. I'm sure all of you can relate to what we're seeing here, or to what Daniel is saying there. Thanks for having me. My name's David Chambers. I'm a solutions consultant from Phocas, MYOB in Kilimanjaro. Thanks for having me at the user group today. It's nice to be here. I've spent about 20 years in the software space, business software space in particular. Really started back in small business accounting back in the early 2000s, moved through into some work with some ERP packages. But then really for the last 13 years, I've worked for Phocas, really helping people understand their data and really helping companies make use of their data to aid in that decision-making process there. So that's the expertise that I bring to the table today, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Those of you who don't know Phocas, 3,000 customers worldwide, 40-odd thousand users, 8 locations around the world. We're an FP&A and BI tool. Now, what's that mean? That's financial planning and analytics. Think budgets and forecasts. And a business intelligence tool. Think data analytics, purchasing data, sales data, those types of things. Been around for about 20-odd years, and we really live and breathe data. And that's our goal, is to unlock data within people's organizations to make sure they can make effective decisions. Now, so today we're talking about finance in focus, robust management and strategic decision making. So there's 3 parts to the session that I want to look at today. Firstly, it's some insights around what I've seen in the marketplace over the last kind of 13 or so years, but also what other people in the industry are talking about, in particular Deloitte, McKinsey, etc. And then distill that down into what problems I actually see, what's that actually manifest in a day-to-day organization, and then what the solution looks like at the end of the day there. So the changing role of the CFO and finance. This is really what I've seen over the last kind of 10 years or so, really working with Phocas. You can see the key points that I've highlighted there: strategic partner, data-driven decision-making, technology integration, and enable communication and collaboration. They're the real main points that are changing over the last 10 years from a CFO and finance team role there. A strategic partner, what I mean by that is I see finance embedding themselves in decision-making processes, not just from a financial perspective there around producing a profit and loss and a balance sheet and talking to the board, but really across the whole organization. They're partnering with the sales team, they're partnering the marketing team, they're partnering with the purchasing team to make sure that everyone's on board with the company strategy and that everyone's reading from the same playbook there. And that's typically driven by data. And the finance role and the CFO, they're real data-driven organizations now, or departments. It's getting data from an ERP system. It's getting data from a CRM system. It's bringing all that data together so everyone in an organization can make those decisions effectively, not just on gut feel, but on true hard facts within a business. And because of that, technology needs to be integrated. You guys are all using MYOB Advanced here. So we know that we can extract data out of MYOB Advanced, but you also might use some other third-party products. They need to be across the fact that, yeah, there's a lot of data locked up in MYOB Advanced, but also there's some other data in the organization that everyone needs to be able to bring together in order to make sure that they're providing the right data to drive those decision-making processes in an organization. And what that really does is that last point that I want to talk about here on this slide is it enables communication and collaboration. Everyone is looking at the right data. Everyone can make the decisions on the right data there. They can budget appropriately. We can build workflows into our budget process, go on to the days of emailing a spreadsheet to 10 different people and getting 10 different versions back and having to manage that from a finance role. They're really enabling that communication and collaboration process very quickly and very easily within an organization. And it's at the forefront of their minds every single time they're making a decision or they're looking at the business there. So what are Deloitte saying about this? This is a question that Deloitte's asked back at the start of 2023 in a report that they asked about data insights and decision making. And it's, what are your greatest challenges to driving data to insights? And you can see here, it's inadequate technology, it's lack of experienced talents, it's lack of time to gather data, analyze it, generate insights, inadequate identification of the data needed for these insights. So it's very much around systems, technology, people to use that technology effectively to help support and drive that decision-making process across the board there. Now, that's obviously the problem that they said. What are the challenges and obstructions that you have in making those decisions? The thing that really improved their decision-making process, as you can see here, these are the top 5 responses from that survey they put out. It's new systems, it's automate and upgrade existing systems, it's making sure they've got the talent that is able to use that data effectively there. I like to think of number 2 as also having a tool that's simple and easy so everyone who is talented in their part of the business can use the tools that they've actually got at their disposal to make those decision-making processes or make those decisions within an organization. Similarly, enhancing data analysis, improving their FP&A or their budgeting and forecasting and scenario analysis as well there. So that's what Deloitte is saying. As you can see, it's very much around getting that data into one place, optimizing how you're actually analyzing that data produces a well-formed decision and a well-formed decision process within a business. Because the last thing that we want is this to happen. We don't want to spend 50% of our time from a finance perspective building reports. But then in the middle there, you can see 61% of the time, the reports add little to no value from a day-to-day basis for a customer. And then 40% of the time, finance leaders identify inadequate systems and tools as the glaring problem in their organization. There's very heavily reliance on tools like Excel to do all this data analytics, to do these budgeting and forecasting processes there. So how do I actually see this manifest in my day-to-day dealings with prospects and customers over my time at Phocas? It really comes down to these quotes. I hear these all the time, every single day. Everyone is working from different numbers. Our reps can't get the data that they need. I'm constantly exporting data to Excel to build my reports there. I'm constantly exporting data to Excel to build reports. I literally got off a call earlier today with a prospect of ours, and that was his main goal. He runs multiple retail food outlets there in the kind of fast food industry, and he wants to make sure that he's not constantly putting data in Excel to make sure that he has a system that enables everyone in the organization, from him as the owner all the way down to the store managers there, to get access to that data. And these are the things that I'm seeing on a day-to-day basis there. And we want to solve them, obviously, as what we want to do. So what does that actually look like? These are the challenges, right? There's 4 main areas that we can kind of put all these challenges into different boxes. It's data, and I see this all the time, and it harks back to that Excel example I just mentioned. It's unstructured data, it's messy, it's walls of numbers, there's data everywhere. I can't count the amount of times that I've dealt with a prospect or I've dealt with a customer at Phocas and they've said, hey, can you help me rebuild this report in Phocas? They email me an Excel spreadsheet. There's 10 different tabs. There's data all over the place there. It's incomplete data. They say, I need a sales and a stock report, but 2 different data sets are provided. Therefore, I need to bring those together, work out how that's actually processed, how that's actually joined. It makes it slow. It has these bulky spreadsheets there. It leads to unanswered questions because it's too hard for people to massage that data and get it into a format that's usable from a reporting and analysis perspective there. Because once we now know that data is in an Excel spreadsheet, it's static, it doesn't change, it doesn't update when the business moves. A new invoice comes in, you have to re-export the whole data set again. Everything becomes historical. There's no way that I can quickly and easily compare with this week versus last week. I'm bogged down. My finance team is constantly kind of producing reports, just shoveling through this data every single day. Therefore, it's hard to consult on. People can't have really good conversations about what's actually happening in the organization there, which then obviously makes insights timely and makes them difficult. People are constantly looking backwards rather than looking forwards because they can't get access to the reports and analysis they need. From a planning and strategy perspective there, this is really around budgeting and forecasting. Slow, complex spreadsheets. I had a prospect and a customer, or was a prospect, they sent me a spreadsheet for their budgeting process. It was 200 meg in size. Again, it had multiple tabs everywhere. How was someone going to manage that? The risk associated with that from sharing that information out to other team members is huge. What happens if I have a tab that I'm not supposed to have in there? I've had another experience from a customer. They sent the incorrect model out to the whole team. That model had a tab in that Excel sheet that modeled the closing down of one of their offices. And everyone saw that. So there was problems around that. The risk associated with that was huge. And obviously they had an issue after that. There's disconnected area of expertise. A budget is built from a finance perspective. It doesn't line up with the sales data there because it's too hard to do that. There's no progress really within an organization. I can't count how many times I talk to finance teams saying our budgeting process takes 2 to 3 months. I'd get burnt out as well if I was constantly going through that process day in, day out, week in, week out to try and massage those multiple different versions of a spreadsheet to get to my final budget number there. And that leads obviously into the operational and process point of view as well. I've got my team members. They're tricky to set up my budgets. It's tricky to export these reports on a day-to-day basis there. No one has clarity around what's going on. Nothing that's happening is really strategic. People are leaving money on the table. I have an example around that is as we have a customer that gets a lot of rebates from a supplier. So they might get 5% on every single sale or every single purchase that they make from that supplier. They didn't have data on a regular enough basis to actually go back to the supplier and say, this is how much I'm owed from you because I bought X amount from you last month. So they were leaving money on the table because they couldn't see that data to make those decisions and make that claim back to the supplier. It led to tense relationships with the supplier, tense relationships internally because no one really knew what the true margin that they were going to get at the end of the day was there. So all these things are the things that I'm seeing in customers and prospects on a day-to-day basis within my role at Phocas. So we can kind of see what the problems are there. Let's look at what a possible solution might be to that. And this is where we want to be positive around what we're doing here. This is what my customers want. This is what they tell us that they want. They want a purpose-built platform. It's made for your ERP. So it's something that integrates quickly and easily. It's low risk. It's simple for everyone to access. They don't need to be in finance or IT to build reports and modify, enter into a budget. And there, it's my data, my way. I'm a salesperson. I need to see my sales numbers by customer, how I need to see it today. I get it when I want it, when I need it. But my board needs a profit and loss in a specific way. It's simple and it's easy for them to build that report and get access to that data. Secure, fast, and reliable. Security is probably a huge thing. I know of a customer that I work with that had a $500,000 cybersecurity insurance claim because their data wasn't secure. And that's obviously what we want to make sure. More than one data source. So it's not just data from an ERP system. It could be data from an ERP system. It could be data from a foot traffic counter that's counting the number of people that come into your retail stores. But it's all that data in one place. And it enables the setup of simple reports and dashboards that everyone can take a look at and really use the data to back the right moves that you want to make there. Hey, do I need to get another staff member on because my sales on a Saturday are growing? Do I need to change the supplier because the cost price is going up too much? But again, it's not just for finance or IT. It's really for everyone in the organization to get the access to the data that they need. And so that leads us to what the actual solution really is. And we mentioned it at the start. Phocas is that solution. It's a financial planning and analytics, and it's a BI solution there. We want to be able to provide our customers with access to all the data that they need, from all the way from a sales data set through to finance, through to a budgeting and forecasting process there. So let's take a quick look at what that actually is within the real world. So let me bring in my Phocas. So let's look at this from a financial lens today. I want simple, easy access to a P&L report that I need to see. Here it is. I want to see that by branch. I want to see that by company. It's a simple click of a button that I can literally grab my branch, drag it up to the top, let it go. I've now rebuilt my P&L by revenue, by branch, all the way down to my marketing expenses by branch, right down to an account level there. So it's so easy for me to access that data. There's zero Excel, there's zero VLOOKUPs that I've done there. If I want to filter this or drill down further, change my date range, change the columns, I click a couple of buttons. I want to remove my previous and I only want my budget in there. I tick a box and it changes the layout. I change it to look at my current month's data. I click a box. It provides me with my current month's P&L, still by branch, etc. I have the ability to drill down into that data, right down to the transaction level. So I can actively make decisions around my data and find out why I've overspent in my employee expenses this month versus my budget. I can simply right click, go to my transactions, and it's going to show me that data right down to a transaction level, all the way through to the account number, the amount, and also any GL reference codes that are available to you there. So it's so easy from a finance perspective to see all of that. And this could be from a finance view. We could also look at it from a sales data perspective. But for today, we can see from a finance role how easy it is to get access to that data. Now, from a planning and a planning role, so I'm looking at my budgets, I'm looking at my forecasts. I've got all my data already in Phocas because it's a one-stop shop for all my data. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a budget, and I've got a budget here pre-built for today. You can see here I'm building this budget by country within Australia, and I can simply and easily go in and make changes around my budget. Hey, I want to bump this up 10%. I can simply go in and add 10% onto my budget, and that's going to bump that up for me. I want to go in and I want to share this data with someone else within my marketing team because I don't look after marketing in the UK. As you can see, it's assigned out to Sally. So I've got full workflow, that collaboration that we were talking about at the beginning of what the CFO is really driving now. It's all available in an FP&A solution there. But it also from a sales perspective, sales is more than just a single revenue line number. It might be sales by product group, by customer, etc. That's what we have here. I've got the ability to import all my sales data, do some little calculations to say, hey, how many quantity am I going to sell at a specific price? I can enter in those details and say I'm going to send 5,000 of those and it's going to be at $85. You'll now see my little formula updates, and that drives my revenue back on my main page there. So we're getting all the data into the one spot. Everything from simple expense line data to revenue data, into headcount. So here's all my employees, salaries, etc., all driving my budget process. So everyone has the ability to see that data in the one spot and get a full overview of how the business is performing. And nothing's more important these days than a full three-way forecast. So I've got a balance sheet. I've got a little driver that's driving my accounts receivable number there based on my sales back on my P&L. And that, at the end of the day, spits out what my cash flow looks like over the next 12 months. So a tool like Phocas has that ability to analyze, slice and dice, but then also look to the future to say, hey, look, if you model your business like this is what the outcomes will be. And in the real world, this is what our customers are saying about it. And this is Daniel again. Budgeting and forecasting tool has allowed us to automate and simplify our process and help us reduce mistakes. It makes the budgeting process a lot smoother. And then from a sales perspective, we can easily see here, this is from Sapphire Group today. They're looking at it from a sales rep perspective. It's user-friendly. It's easy for people to get access to the data that they need, in this case, through a dashboard. So hopefully you can see that the problems that we've got within the market and that what we at Phocas see every single day and how we actually solve that in the real world there. So if you have any questions, throw them into the Q&A panel at the top of the page and I'll be sure to get them answered at the end. If not, get in touch and I'm sure we can talk about your problems and see if we've got a solution to them.